Picture this. The year is 2025. Humanity has just completed its first permanent colony on Mars. Back on Earth, the last coal plant shut down 5 years ago. Disease? We cured cancer in 2010. Poverty? Eliminated through global resource sharing networks that span continents. The global population is stabilized at 10 billion, all living in harmony with nature. And here's the thing that made it all possible. We never learned how to kill each other. Imagine standing beside a crackling fire 200,000 years ago. Around you, early humans share the warmth. But something's different in this timeline. When disagreements arise over food or territory, these ancestors don't reach for stones or spears, they reach for something more powerful: understanding. The human species occupies a wider range of habitats than any other mammal. It uses more resources, lives in more diverse social systems. In our peaceful timeline, this diversity becomes humanity's greatest strength from the very beginning. The evidence suggests humans created lifeways in which collaborating with others was necessary for survival. But what if this collaboration wasn't just necessary? What if it became our defining characteristic? While our warlike timeline saw tribes competing for resources, in this alternate history, neighboring groups develop sophisticated trading networks. They share knowledge about edible plants, hunting techniques, shelter construction. When one group faces famine, others provide food. When illness strikes, healers travel between communities, spreading medical knowledge that would have taken millennia to develop in isolation. By 50,000 years ago, as humans spread across the globe, they carry with them not weapons of war, but tools of cooperation. Language evolves faster in this timeline. It's driven by the need to communicate across cultural boundaries. Universal gesture languages emerge alongside spoken words. We create the first truly global communication systems tens of thousands of years before the internet. Fast forward to 3300 BCE. Along the Indus River, something remarkable is happening. The Harappan civilization is rising, and in our timeline, they're not alone in their peaceful ways. The Harappans dominated the Indus River Valley for 2,000 years. Archaeologists note something striking. There is no evidence that any Harappan city was ever burned, besieged by an army, or taken over by force. In our alternate history, this becomes the universal model. Cities rise without walls. There's nothing to defend against. The massive resources that would have gone into fortifications, weapons, and standing armies flow into architecture instead. Into art, into infrastructure. Mesopotamian cities collaborate on massive irrigation projects. They turn deserts into gardens. Egyptian knowledge flows freely up and down the Nile. This creates a civilization not of pharaohs and slaves but of teacher scientists and farmer engineers. Rome rises not as an empire built on legions, but as a hub of innovation. Without the need to maintain massive armies, imagine those resources redirected. The United States alone spent $916 billion on military in 2023. Ancient Rome, with that same proportion of resources freed up, perfects concrete that lasts millennia. Instead of training soldiers, they train doctors. They establish the first global health network. The period we call the Middle Ages becomes something entirely different. Without crusades dividing cultures, Christian, Islamic, Jewish, Buddhist, and Hindu scholars work side by side. They share vast libraries. The knowledge of classical antiquity never disappears into a dark age. There are no barbarian invasions to destroy it. By 1000 CE, collaborative scientific communities span from Ireland to Japan. The printing press is invented 400 years early, not to spread war propaganda, but to share agricultural innovations that prevent famines. Mathematics advances at breakneck speed. Indian numerals merge with Arab algebra. Greek geometry joins them, all without the barriers of conflict. Universities spring up not in fortified towns but in open communities anyone can learn. By 1200, there are over 1,000 universities worldwide. Each is connected by traveling scholars who carry ideas like seeds, planting them wherever minds are fertile. Stop for a moment. Think about your own family. If your grandmother had been born into this world without war, would she be alive today? In our peaceful timeline, she might be 120 years old, sharp as ever, teaching your children stories from a century of life. Your grandfather? Maybe he'd have become the scientist he dreamed of being, instead of dying at 19 in a trench in France, or at 21 over the Pacific, or at 23 in the jungle. Every family has these ghosts, these what-ifs. In our timeline, they're not ghosts. They're living memories, contributing their wisdom to a world that valued their lives above conquest. When European sailors reached the Americas in our peaceful timeline, It's not conquest they bring, but collaboration. Columbus's ships carry botanists, not conquistadors. They're eager to learn about new crops. The meeting of civilizations becomes a great exchange, not just of goods, but of wisdom. Native American knowledge of sustainable agriculture revolutionizes European farming. European metallurgy helps American civilizations build more efficient tools. Diseases still spread, biology doesn't change. But without the violence of conquest, populations have time to develop immunities. Medical knowledge flows freely between continents, saving millions. By 1600, a global trade network exists not to exploit, but to ensure every region has what it needs. Ships carry students, not slaves. They study at universities on every continent. The Industrial Revolution begins a century early. It's powered not by colonies feeding raw materials to imperial centers, but by genuine global cooperation. Now we reach the truly staggering implications. Without the two world wars, the 20th century becomes an era of unprecedented advancement. Over 100 million people weren't killed. Trillions in resources weren't destroyed. The best minds of generations aren't blown apart in trenches. They're not vaporized by atomic bombs. They're in laboratories, classrooms, and workshops. Think about this. In our timeline, Hiroshima vanished in seconds. 200,000 lives ended by one bomb. In the peaceful timeline, Hiroshima in 1945 is a thriving center of nuclear medicine. Those same atoms that destroyed are instead healing cancer patients from across Asia. Einstein doesn't write letters urging atomic bomb development. He collaborates with scientists worldwide on unlimited clean energy. The Manhattan Project's $2 billion fund cancer research instead. We cracked the genetic code in 1950, not 1961. The space program isn't driven by military competition, it's driven by humanity's shared dream of touching the stars. Consider this. World military expenditure reached $2.7 trillion in 2024. Every year, that's $2.7 trillion for education, for healthcare, for infrastructure, for research. The moon landing happens in 1955. Mars, in 1975. By 2000 we have self-sustaining colonies throughout the solar system. Today, in 2025 of our alternate timeline, Earth is unrecognizable. Climate change was solved in the 1980s. The entire world scientific community, unhampered by military secrecy, collaborated on fusion power, on carbon capture. The last fossil fuel plant closed before most of us were born. Cities float on the oceans. Hyperloops connect them, making borders meaningless. The Sahara blooms with genetically modified plants that thrive in sand. Hunger is a word found only in history books. Life expectancy approaches 150 years. Medical advances came decades early. Mental illness is as manageable as the common cold. We treat minds with the same resources once spent on missiles. In our world, Rwanda saw neighbors turn on neighbors in 1994. 800,000 dead in 100 days. In the peaceful timeline, Rwanda, in 1994, celebrates its 100th year as Africa's leading medical research center. Those same communities that tore each other apart instead work together to eliminate malaria worldwide. Most remarkably, we've discovered we're not alone in the universe. Radio signals detected in 1995 led to first contact in 2010. The alien civilization chose to communicate precisely because we'd achieved something rare in the cosmos. A global civilization without warfare. They share technologies that would have seemed like magic, but only with species that have proven they won't use them for destruction. But let's return to reality for a moment. Warfare is only an invention, not a biological necessity. Anthropologist Margaret Mead said that. She was right. Not all societies make war. The Iroquois Confederacy maintained peace for over 300 years. The 5 Nordic nations have not warred with each other for over 200 years. These aren't fantasies, they're proof that peace is possible. Syria today is rubble where cities once stood, millions displaced, hundreds of thousands dead. In our peaceful timeline, Damascus in 2025 is the jewel of the Mediterranean, a center of art and learning that draws students from every continent. Those same young men who pick up guns instead pick up violins, brushes, equations. What would your life look like in this alternate timeline? Would you be living on Mars? Would your great-grandmother still be making Sunday dinner? Would you speak 5 languages and think nothing of it? Would art and music have advanced so far we can't even imagine their forms? We stand at a crossroads. Every dollar spent on weapons is a dollar not spent on wonder. Every brilliant mind destroyed by war is an Einstein lost, a Curie vanished, a Mozart silenced forever. Every child who grows up in conflict instead of compassion is a future stolen from us all. The alternate history I've painted isn't just about the past, it's about the choice we face tomorrow. Humans have always had a capacity to make war, but we also have the capacity to choose differently. The question isn't whether a world without war is possible, the Harappans proved it is. The question is, whether we'll choose it. Whether we'll take the trillions spent on destruction and invest them in creation. Whether we'll take the path our ancestors didn't. The path that leads not to mushroom clouds but to cities in the clouds, not to mass graves but to the stars. What if people never fought wars? The choice is still ours. It always has been. The world without war exists, but only if we imagine it first.